One of the hardest parts of writing a first draft of a memoir is pulling all those scattered pieces that you've got here and there and in your journal and over in these docs together into some cohesive thing and make it a story. So how do you do that? Let's talk about it. Your first task is to take a big step back and figure out what is this sequence of stories that I want to include in this memoir. Take a little time to make a list of the stories that you want in your book, from the first one that opens the book to the last one, or at least the last one for now. Do not belabor this step. You should spend half an hour, maybe 1 hour max on this, because you're not trying to establish a hard and fast structure to follow. All you're doing is finding, like, what's the string that you're going to put these beads on? And every bead is a story showing how a change evolved from one story to the next. Then once you've got your list, it's time to start compiling. Here you'll start with the first story on your list and ask yourself, did I write that story already or not? And if you did, go find it. Pull it out of your doc, transcribe it from your journal, whatever you need to do to get that story in your draft. Then if it's a story that you wrote a while ago, give it a read and ask yourself, is this story at least directionally correct? Does it have the focus that I intended it to have? At this point, you're not trying to edit the story to a final version. You're not trying to perfect anything. You're just trying to get each step of the book directionally correct. This is happening in my book right now, where I just this past weekend made a master doc of all the different pieces that I've written on this topic over the last couple of years. And I started reading it and realized, like, there are some stories in here where I understand why the story needs to be here, but when I wrote it at the time, I focused on completely the wrong thing. So when you've got a story like that, it's time to start writing. Use the story you had before as inspiration, but just scrap it and rewrite the story. At least for me, it's often easier to rewrite and reimagine than it is to try to take something that's fully off and re-engineer it into something that might work. You may find that there are stories on that list you wrote that you haven't written yet at all. And once you hit them in the sequence, it's time to sit down and write them. This pulling together of a draft can take a long time, but you just focus story by story. Did I already write that somewhere? Is the way that I wrote it directionally correct? What do I need to rewrite? And by the time you've done that for every story, you will have a rough draft of that book that at least is all going in the same direction. Good luck.